Hello, my name is Aaron Peña, and this is my weekly reflection on the assigned readings. Let's dive in. So, purpose of the reflection. The purpose of this reflection was to critically engage with two readings, Sumter and Sumter, and Chapter 1 of Rethinking Math for Troubled Times. The goal is to explore how mathematical practices are intertwined with human values, social norms, and to identify pedagogical implications for teaching mathematics. This reflection emphasizes authenticity, personal connection, focuses on how these ideas resonate with an eighth grade math classroom, which is what I teach. By examining these texts, we aim to understand that mathematics is not a natural discipline, but one deeply embedded in cultural, ethical, and democratic context. This understanding challenges traditional views of math as purely objective and encourages educators to rethink our roles in fostering inclusive and equitable learning environments, which is pivotal. The presentation will highlight three key quotes from the readings, explain why they stood out to me, and then I'm going to try to connect them to my personal teaching experiences. Finally, it will outline how these insights can inform future teaching practices to create classrooms that value reasoning, fairness, and democratic participation, which is super important to give our students a voice. So the first quote, mathematics and neutrality, and then quote two, democratic mathematics, and then quote three, values and mathematical perspectives. So let's take a look at the first one. The first one that I felt resonated a lot with me was there's a widespread notion that mathematics can offer objective, fair, or neutral solutions to problems, where it says such thinking is misguided. It was on page 75 of Sumter and Sumter. This quote stood out to me because it challenges the common belief that mathematics is inherently neutral. Again, as a teacher, I often present math as a universal truth, disconnected from cultural or ethical considerations, which reflecting on this, I realized that even simple operations like division can carry implicit values about fairness and equality. For example, when teaching fraction divisions, I emphasize efficiency, but students may interpret fairness differently. This insight encourages me to create space for discussions about why certain methods are chosen and what values they reflect. It also a good reminder to me that mathematical modeling in real world contexts cannot be separated from ethical reasoning. This understanding should help me and will help me guide students to see math as a human endeavor shaped by choices and perspectives. So I thought that was a very powerful quote. The second quote was our hope is that remaking math is a democratic spirit will be sorry, let me read that again. It was our hope is that remaking math in a democratic spirit will be democratic, not just in terms of teaching the skills of democracy. It will also be democratic in its enactment and its attention to accessibility, opportunity, and equity, which was Stemhagen, page 4. This quote resonates deeply with my experience teaching in a Title I school where math often acts as a gatekeeper to advance opportunities. The idea of democratizing math challenges me to rethink my classroom as a space for inclusion rather than exclusion. It definitely emphasizes that math education should not only teach content but also foster equity and participation, which is something that I am very adamant about. In fact, so to me, this means designing lessons that allow all students to engage meaningfully, regardless of their background. For instance, incorporating collaborative problem solving and value diverse approaches can definitely help dismantle the perception that math belongs only to a select few or only the ones that are good at it. This perspective aligns with my commitment to social justice and inspires me to make math relevant and empowering for every student. So it was another like a very well put quote that really brought a lot of value to me. And my third quote was differences arise between our modelers, not because they do not understand different ways of doing mathematics, but from a connection between the background and experiences of the mathematicians and the type of values they appear to espouse. And again, that was Sumter page 84. This quote highlights how personal experiences shape mathematical reasoning. In my classroom, I see this when my students debate which method is better. Some prioritize speed, others prefer visual models. These preferences reflect underlying values such as efficiency or clarity. So recognizing these helps me appreciate that math learning is not just cognitive, but definitely cultural and ethical as well. It definitely encourages me to honor multiple solution paths and invite students to explain their reasoning. By doing this, I can validate their perspectives and show that mathematics is flexible and responsive to human context. This approach definitely fosters a sense of belonging and it helps my students see themselves as active contributors to our mathematical discourse, which in the end makes for powerful learning in which conceptual understanding takes place as well. How will this impact my future teaching practices? So after reading these two articles, they suggest several pedagogical shifts for my future teaching. First, I will encourage multiple solution paths, which I already do, but continue to do that as well, to demonstrate that math is not just a one size fit all. This includes, using more open-ended tasks like the biscuit sharing problem to explore fairness and ethical reasoning. Second, I will create democratic spaces in my classroom by promoting group work, student voice, and choice in problem solving. Third, I will connect math to students' lived experiences, making lessons relevant to their communities and interests, which we do. I did a project last year where students had to pick a societal or environmental issue present here in their living communities, and then create a robot from it to help address the issues. They had to promote it. They had to create like what's it called, like an infographic. They had to create um, the I guess like the report on it. They had to do research on the issue, what has been done, what could be done. So it extended more than just to create the robot, which was focusing on surface area and volume. We extended that to make it relevant to them, and so it was a really fun project that we did. Um, so again, discussing real world resources, allocation, social issues through mathematical modeling can definitely help students see math as a tool for understanding and improving society. Finally, I will emphasize reasoning and justification over rote procedures, which is something I learned previously in another course on curriculum. And so I definitely shifted how we journal in class. My prompts are more reflective versus, like memorizing like these rote procedures that I mentioned. So I shifted why does these steps work versus name the steps to solve an equation. Right? It was a lot more reflective, a lot more powerful, and it definitely increased the rigor and the critical thinking in my classroom, which again fosters critical thinking and agencies. These practices aim to transform math from a gatekeeping subject into a platform for equity, empowerment, and civic engagement. And my final thoughts in closing and reflection. Mathematics is not neutral, it is deeply human. Teaching math is not just about numbers, it is about shaping thinkers who can reason, question, and participate in a democratic society. These readings reminded me that math education holds immense powers. It can either reinforce inequities or help students see themselves as capable problem solvers who matter. My goal is to choose the latter by creating a classroom that values fairness, inclusivity, and critical engagement. By integrating these discussions and democratic practices into my instruction, I can help my students develop both mathematical competences and the civic skills needed to navigate and improve our world. These are really powerful articles that I enjoy reading, and of course, and try to take in all the great advice that it provided, and then implement that for my own teaching and my kids. And one day, when I become a instructional coach or whatnot, whatever the future holds, implement that onto others as well. Thank you for taking the time to see this video, and I'm sorry it went a little bit overboard, but it was really powerful for me to express that. Thank you.